Ew, period play?
What the hell?
You're asking me to kill a goldfish?
Yeah, these things are wild.
That's interesting.
All right, we got news of the week, Reddit stories, and some OnlyFans stuff. Okay, so on the last episode, we talked a little bit about the Eclipse thing, which by the time this episode comes out, we'll be way past the Eclipse. But there are some strange things being reported.
With regards to that?
In relation to the Eclipse. Well, we talked a little bit about like the fish going crazy and stuff like that. So here's an article about... Okay, so the title of this article is Hypersexual Zombie Cicadas That Are Infected with Sexually Transmitted Fungus Expected to Emerge This Year.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so they have pictures of these cicadas. So this is an actual thing that's happening. But basically all of these cicadas... Like you can see this fungus on the back of them.
Okay.
So these are like, you watch all these zombie movies and it's basically people get infected with some kind of fungus and then they turn into zombies but it usually starts with a thing like this or some kind of like animal that gets infected and then so people are looking at stuff like this where these cicadas are getting infected and now they're like swarming by the hundreds of millions or something like that.
Well, that's normal.
The
swarming happens like every year.
With locusts, yeah.
No cicada. In Chicago, that's really common.
Oh, so here's a clip of it. Let me see what they're saying.
So this is Illinois' big year, really. And these two broods have not emerged at the same time for 221 years. So no matter where you go in Illinois, it's going to be hard to escape the cicadas.
Why? What makes that, Catherine? Because it feels like we've heard in years.
Well, okay. Cicadas. So I don't feel like that's going to like translate to infecting humans. You think? Is that what you're getting at?
Well, I'm just saying if we're building off the story from last week about like weird stuff happening with animals and fish, like this is the thing that's not like normal. This like infection fungus type stuff.
So it's like cicada chlamydia.
I guess. So that's one. Yeah. So then there's like all these crazy weather things that are happening. So this article is about this freak wind storm or something that happened in China where the wind was so strong it like blew these people out of the apartment.
What?
3 people died after typhoon-like winds pulled them out through their apartment window in southern China. Extreme weather battered the region over the past week. A total of 7 people have died. Since exceptionally strong winds began on Sunday, state broadcaster reported on Thursday, more than 5,400 houses were damaged. So, yeah, basically it got super windy, so windy that it apparently blew these people out of their apartment. Yeah, like what the heck? A 6-year-old woman from the same building was also swept out of the window by extreme wind. All 3 were confirmed dead, the state broadcast reported. One weather station picked up. Like, how's that even possible? Like, how windy does it have to be to blow you out of the window?
That fucking Alaskan Airlines one where the door blew off.
In the airplane?
You'd have to be going like somewhere around that fast, right?
Well, yeah, but that's also a compression. That's like a different, like if you're in space and there's a hole in the spaceship, there's a compression that sucks. It sucks.
They're not in space. They're just in the air.
Somebody back me up on this one.
They're high, but they're not that high.
Okay, and then, did you want to talk about this?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to, just in case you've missed it, we've been watching this Unlocked, a jail experiment on Netflix.
Well, let me just play the trailer. Well, so for the people that don't know, I'll just put my prison story in the description. so you guys can watch my little prison story. But this Netflix show definitely has some overlap with what I saw in prison, because it is like when you're in there, it is like a funny little reality show. Just all the silly characters in there. It's funny. But yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Jails in America are violent and understaffed, which means inmates are locked down for up to 23 hours a day. That's why this sheriff is willing to risk it all on a new, radical idea. No locks and no officers.
And let y'all be a community. Detainees will have 6 weeks to prove that they can act more like people and not criminals.
It could end helping somebody to be free and stay free.
Man, come on. It's a pod full of felons. We running the pod now.
But we still gotta follow the rules and you.
We gonna get lit in this month.
Dude, we finna make hoot.
We gonna get drunk this here.
We're not to let nobody mess this up for us.
Oh, you guys are gonna ruin it for all of us.
It's a big opportunity for me that I can reconnect with my kid, be the best father that I can.
Yes, well, so when I was in prison, I was in a prison camp, which is different, but it is more kind of similar to this because they're letting these guys out into the pod, into like a community thing. But like where I was at, it was kind of like that by default. You're in like this bunk house or like this little bunker type thing, and it's just like a little group of dudes like this, and then the whole thing is like a reality show. But this,
I like it because I think it just humanizes incarcerated people for people who just kind of see them as like bad people and like forget that those are humans. Like this guy, I think his name is Tiny. I really liked following his story because he, started his criminal career when he was really, really young, and he's been kind of hardened by the system, but he does have a son, and then he explains that he hasn't seen him in a long time because he doesn't have money on his books for phone calls or this or that, and so he eventually like gets to talk to his son, and you just see him like melt. He's just like softens, and he's so happy to talk to him, and he just has like a really pure heart at the end of the day, and I really like that they show that about these people.
Well, yeah, I've said multiple times, like some of the best honest dudes I've ever met in my whole life were in prison, and of course there is like a lot of shitty people there too, but
even on this show there's like a good handful of douchebags, but that's like out in the real world also.
Yeah, sometimes you just end up in the crosshairs of the legal system, and that's how it goes. But
they're up to like some funny shit in there. You kind of watch them build like their hierarchy and like who's going to be in charge and who kind of gets pushed out and this and that. It's really interesting to watch. I like it. It's funny too.
Yeah, so that's a good one. And then all right, so let's get into some of these Reddit stories because I don't even remember what these are. Okay, so this one, the title is Today I Fucked Up by Sending an Eclipse Video. So I'll just read this one. There's a funny video that goes around every time there's an eclipse. It involves the sun and a dude lowering his ball sack into view to subsequently block out the sun. I thought it would be funny to send the video to my dad, which looking back was probably not a good idea since my dad has a history of being perpetual email forwarder and overshare of info. Anyway, I sent the video to him with the caption that I had gotten a really good video of the eclipse. My dad was so excited that he failed to watch the video before forwarding to just about everyone he knew, saying, "Look at this awesome video that my son took." That included the female pastor of his church and quite a few of the teachers at the local school. When he started getting some interesting replies, he finally went back and watched the video. He thought it was my ball sack in the video, and the whole town now has a video of my balls. He is super pissed that I sent him this video and is worried about possibly getting into trouble. Which, yeah, he probably could get into legal trouble if they actually think it's the son.
That's hilarious and gross.
But, well, I've seen that video going around.
Oh, I have not seen that.
I think this is the actual.
Oh my God.
So we'll have this part blurred out on YouTube, but this is the actual. But
That's
this
disgusting.
This was played on the Mexican news.
Trim your fucking ball hair.
Yeah, so that's pretty funny.
The next eclipse is not going to be until like 2044 or something. And so I could have gone another 20 years without seeing that.
For anyone who missed the eclipse, there you go.
Ew, I think I saw this one.
Okay, the title of this one is Today I Fucked Up by Letting My Boyfriend's Horrific Personal Hygiene Run Our Relationship. I haven't read this one, so...
Well, let me read it because it's super long.
Okay.
Okay, it says, I've been with my boyfriend, 22 male, for over 2 years now. I first noticed he didn't have good personal hygiene before we even got together. I noticed he smelled sometimes. But you still got with him?
Maybe she's a fixer. She likes to fix them.
Well, she says here, he is the loveliest guy and he has the sweetest heart, so I could see past the bad sweat. After a few months of being together, I noticed it was much more. For example, his oral hygiene is awful. He barely brushes his teeth, only when I remind him. He says he does, but the plaque and state of his teeth says otherwise, starting to decay at the bottom on a few. Also, this one affects me the most, but he doesn't wipe his butt properly at all after going to the loo. I tried to forget about it the first couple times and put it to an accident. He used to dirty my sheets when he slept over at my house.
Yeah.
But then it started to get worse where I'd have to wash my sheets pretty much every week, which was expensive for me as a student. I talked to him about this, crying and saying how it affects me and how he needs to sort it ASAP. This was 5 months into our relationship when I said this. We are over 2 years now and he still does it. I have had this conversation with him so many times I can't count. He says he will change it and that he is trying. To be honest, I've seen some improvement from what it used to be like, but it's still happening. FYI, he's a large guy, so I can understand that it may be difficult to reach around there, but it's been too long. I reckon if he lost some weight, it would help. He has been trying to lose weight for the past 8 months, but I'm not really seeing any change. I'm assuming because his diet hasn't changed. I've been trying to support him through this too. I'd really appreciate some help with how to get some change. Maybe I'm not saying the right thing. It's like he doesn't care about it enough to stop. It's as though he is comfortable being gross. I don't understand.
Yeah, ew, what the hell? So basically he's just like taking his shit, not wiping his ass, and then they're doing stuff in the bed and he's just getting shit everywhere.
Listen to me. If I could fucking smell you, that's a no-go. Like, even you, we've been together for so long. If you ever smelled bad, I would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't even try to come in this bed.
And unless you're 600 pounds, you can fucking reach. Like, there's no...
They even have tools. We've seen it. It's kind of like those ball thrower things for dogs. And you can you pinch like a piece of paper in there and then you can scoop in your butt crack. They have tools that can help you. Like, there is just really no excuse.
Yeah, that's
clean.
Like, why is she I don't understand why she's going along with it. Like you said, as soon as you get a whiff, it's like, all right, go handle yourself.
You had the warning before you got together with him. That's my thing. You knew what you were getting yourself into.
Yeah, no, that's fucking disgusting.
Oh my God.
All right, so this one says, how did your life get better after your early 20s? Oh, so this is the one you picked.
Yeah, I just thought this was kind of an interesting thing to talk about because some people say that like their 20s or whatever was just the best time of their life and they had so much fun and blah, blah, blah. And it's all downhill. You have to like the humdrum of getting married and having kids and getting fat and sick and blah, blah, blah. And then some people say that like their 40s is like their prime and they're like, I'm the fittest I've ever been. I feel better than I did in my 20s, blah, blah, blah. So I was curious to hear what your answer is and see what other people said. I haven't even looked.
Yeah, I would say like my early 20s was great, but it was just like the standard party, fuck around, carefree type of life, which was awesome. But like now it's equally great, but in a different way. Like I don't party, I don't do any of that shit anymore, but it's
now that I'm more fit and I compare the way I feel now compared to then, I feel way better physically. And then I have just developed so much of my self-awareness and stuff. And so a lot of like the uncertainty and, just uncertainty that life brings and kind of, I was just kind of winging things a lot back then, which like now I look back and I'm like, how the fuck was I doing that? Because I'm such a I like feeling the stability, I guess, of like being an established adult.
So when did I got indicted when I was what, 26 or 27 or something? From 27 years old or whatever up until like a year ago was probably the worst period because that was all just legal drudgery and not knowing if I was going to be spending a decade in prison.
So your whole early 30s.
Yeah, so my whole I spent 2 birthdays in prison but prison itself wasn't the worst part. It was just the pre-prison drudgery, legal uncertainty.
Oh, that was the worst part.
And then like the post-prison of just like coming out of prison and like being super broke and like miserable and not being able to afford to eat again, just being like back to square one with nothing. I was like,
and then I got sued right after you got home.
Yeah, and then you got sued.
So we were just like fucking going through it for a minute there.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Let's see what people say, what they're saying here.
Yeah, see, I found my rhythm at around 27. I would say that's true for me too. Like my late 20s, I was like, okay, we're starting to get somewhere.
When I first got into sales and then that's when, the sales world kind of introduces you to all the sort of positive.
Zig
Ziglar, Dale Carnegie, and just all those classics. And then Thinking How to Grow Rich. And then that's what kind of introduced me to all those concepts and ideas, which was a result of getting into sales. And then I just kind of went on that path from there. But, so this is the other one that you had. What's the weirdest thing that your partner does that you've just accepted? So you haven't told me what yours is.
Yeah, so I asked you yours, but I did not tell you what mine is.
Well, I don't really know.
So I'll tell you mine for you, and then. So the weirdest thing I think is the way that when you pour your cereal, you have to dip your fingers in the bowl as a way to like gauge if you have enough milk.
It's not fingers. It's patting it with the spoon.
No.
Yeah.
No, your fingers are in there half the time. And you're kind of going like this. It's like 3 fingers and you're like pouring the milk and it's like, and then you're like, okay, this is good.
Well,
that's fucking weird.
Well, cereal to milk ratio is really important.
Okay. He eats cereal pretty much every night, right? Almost every night.
Well, not anymore because I'm back on my diet thing now, but.
Oh, the other weird thing
that's a pretty good one. But yeah, somebody else has to be doing that. I can't be the only one. You pat the cereal and you give it a poke to make sure that the milk to cereal ratio is perfect. That's how you do it.
I've never done that in my whole life. Never.
Wait, so you have another one?
Well, the other thing is kind of a new development.
What is that? What is this?
The salt thing.
Oh.
So you make your breakfast and then you're putting salt on it, and like this man is 6'3". He's like a big person, but he does this thing when he puts the salt and he like leans over the counter, and then he like you would think he was holding like a 40-pound bag of like sand or something and like pouring it into like a pepper jar or something. Like you would think it was like a really meticulous, hard thing to do, but he's just, and I called him out on it. Like, what are you doing? And you said, well, I have to look at it and make sure that it's the right amount. So you're looking at it from over and the opposite side instead of looking at it from here and going.
Yeah, because I'm too tall. So when you spin it, the salt gets everywhere. So
or if you just hold it like this and then you just.
I mean, I guess.
Okay, what's yours?
I don't have any like funny ones like that. Yours is just what I mentioned the other day, which was like every time you ask me a question, as soon as I start answering the question, you start belching as loud as possible, and then you'll be like annoyed that you weren't able to hear my response to the
No,
thing.
I'm not. I'm usually giggling about it because it is coincidental that it like the timing happens that way. In my defense, I have acid reflux or something going on with my stomach, and I do belch a little bit.
Yeah, so
it's gross, but it's funny. I'm sure most people would be repulsed by it, but
let's see what else here.
Oh yeah, I thought this one would be a good topic. So this one is, why do women's leggings always have a seam in the middle so that you get camel toe? This is a good question. We all want to know because we all do get camel toe from these fucking pants. And there are some brands that don't use the crotch seam anymore, but even those, they make kind of like a weird seam that runs, I don't know, I guess it runs up onto your butt a little bit. It almost feels like where like a pad would be if you were wearing a pad.
Well, I don't really know anything about that, but it is.
But
I think they do it on purpose.
Yeah, camel toe is like trendy. Back when we were younger, I would say it was more like a ew type of thing. But now it's like we show it off on TikTok. People want to see that.
All right, so the next thing, what's going on in the world of OnlyFans? We'll get into some OnlyFans stuff right here. So this was one that might be funny, which the title of this one is, what's been your oddest request for a custom? I just want some opinions on customs. I've done a couple, but undersold them majorly, so I haven't done anything more. I'm unsure how to price, like per minute, and they've been asking weird shit lately. So do you charge more for kinkier, dirtier shit than your normal content? I'm clueless when it comes to pricing, and these freeloaders be freeloading.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I mean, if it's more of a niche kink that you're not going to be able to resell that much, then you need to price it accordingly. But if it's like something broad that you can sell to your whole fan base, then you can lower the price a little on those, I would say.
Yeah, that's kind of how I decide pricing is like, because it has to be worth it for me. Like if I can't resell it, then you kind of are paying like full price because it's exclusive to you. It has to be worth the however many hours or whatever it takes me to do it front to back, along with, just making sure that I'm being compensated like fairly for what I'm doing for you. And then if it's something that can be resold, then usually it's like a little bit cheaper because you can, edit out the customizations and use it as PPV.
But then it's hard to know because she doesn't really say what she normally prices. Because some people will literally do customs for like $20, and then other people will do customs for like, you know, $300, $400, $500. Which you'll generally do them for like, you know, $200, $300, anywhere from like $100 to $300 usually.
Yeah, it depends on what they want me to do, and then also how long. Like I'll have a minimum requirement for time, and then like if they don't want me to resell it, it's gonna cost more. Yeah. So usually like at least a couple $100 for something like mild, like more kind of my speed. But if you were asking me to do something that I'm, you know, I would either need to buy stuff for, prepare myself for, script for, you know, anything that's going to just require more, then yeah, you just price accordingly on top of that.
By the way, if you want to join us in the OnlyFans Level Up community, that is where I share all of my best secrets and strategies for OnlyFans creators, many of which are hitting really big numbers, as you may have seen from various guests on this podcast. But either way, it's a great place to be if you want to network or learn all of the best secrets and strategies to grow your OnlyFans account. You can find all of that information with the link down in the description below. But for now, back to the podcast. This one says, dude wanted me to pretend to slowly step on snails, slowly lowering my foot down onto the floor, specifically in flip-flops, and say in a cheerful voice, "Bye-bye, Mr. Snail." Another guy wanted me to get as much spit as I could onto my nose and squish it as... Am I reading this right?
Mm-hmm.
Another guy wanted me to get as much spit as I could onto my nose and squish it as flat as I could with my fingers and slowly and show my face from different angles while pushing my nose around. Yeah, that is a different one. One guy wanted me to eat raw steak with my bare hands while topless and wanted me to tear it up like a wild animal and growl. Life is strange.
See, so I would be curious to know what she charged for those, like 3 individual ones, like the last one.
Yeah, because you can't really, I mean, maybe there's other people that are into that, but for the most part, you're going to have a hard time trying to resell that.
Firstly, that. Secondly, that's disgusting. And you're putting yourself at risk for getting sick. You're eating a raw steak.
Yeah, that is a health risk.
That's gross. I don't think I would. I know that I wouldn't do that.
I make most of my income off customs. The short answer is that while maybe not the kinkier, the more expensive, but the more effort and more time required, the pricier the video should be. The long answer depends on a few factors. How new are you? How many custom orders are you getting weekly? As well as taking an honest look at the professionalism and quality of the customs you make. With all those factors in mind, I'd price them reasonably unless you are a huge creator getting more requests weekly than you can fulfill. I personally don't charge per minute because it's too broad. I have minimum amount of minutes and a minimum price I start at. However, in my beginning stages, my prices were very cheap and I was more flexible. Charging those lower prices in the beginning got me to where I am today, though.
That's true for me, pretty much exactly what she said. When I first started, I did customs really cheap for like $45 or something.
Yeah.
But I was, you know, planting my feet still, and it was good for me at the time. It made sense for me to do it that way.
And like what she's saying is like sometimes it is a huge time investment in comparison to other things. But really you just got to measure like how much can you make doing that versus how much can you make if you invested your time into marketing to get more fans or creating, you know, mass messages that you can sell at scale. So you have to kind of just weigh out what is your time worth versus other things. And if you can make $200 spending your time elsewhere, then you'll want to charge at least $200 for that custom, if not more, because that's taking your time away from other things that could be earning equal or more.
Ew, period play? Did you see that?
No, where?
Period play, really bloody. Pooping in my pants so it would sink through.
Actually, all kinds of shitty things, dirty toilets. I don't care to that cater. I don't cater to that at all, other than regular anal content.
I can't.
Yeah, these things are wild.
Yeah, she says, not sure if this totally answers your question, but since I'm a belly fetish model, I'm familiar with something on the wilder sides. Yet the one custom request which shocked me was when someone asked me for swallowing a live goldfish. I later discovered it's actually a pretty common thing in the community. The thing is that I have a phobia of fish, so needless to say, that was an absolute no.
I wonder what it is, like how, like any guy out there who's watching this, who's into these kind of fetishes, I think it'd be cool to have one of the fans on for a guest interview, like somebody with like all of these weird fetishes, and just like ask them questions about.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Anybody who's a fan and you're into a ton of like weird fetishes, send us a message and maybe we'll get somebody on the show.
Well, the goldfish thing too is like, I can't even throw away like a plant that's not completely dead. Like that's a living thing. So you're asking me to kill a goldfish by way of ingesting it, eating it, consuming it?
I'm just curious, like what about that is arousing? I don't know.
Oh, I can't even think about it.
But if that's you, if you're a guy and that turns you on, send us a message, come on the show, and let's kind of break that down because that's kind of interesting. All right, so yep, some pretty weird stuff out there. Okay, so this is a tool that I've talked about before, but I've got some questions about, because sometimes we do those parts where I'm talking about the different niche accounts and the different categories and stuff like that. So this is the tool that I use to kind of find different niche accounts on OnlyFans and different creators that are doing interesting stuff. And basically what this does, you can switch between Instagram and TikTok, and it will show you basically the best performing videos for OnlyFans creators. So for example, if I go to TikTok right here and I just sort this by the most views, this is going to show basically the best performing videos, and you can kind of filter it to whatever you want. You can filter it for the last 24 hours, the past week, the past month. So if I put this on the past month right here, this will show us the best performing videos on TikTok over the last month with all of these various OnlyFans creators. Or I can switch it to Instagram, and basically same thing. It will show us all of the best performing Instagram videos over the last 30 days. Or if you want it more recent, then I can change it to the past week like this. And then we can see the best performing videos over the last week or so. So yeah, this was, I think it was either a comment on YouTube or Telegram. Someone was like, how do you find all those videos? And this is basically how. So I'll have the link for this tool down in the description, so you can check this out. And super, super helpful if you're trying to find kind of the best performing videos, best trends, stuff like that you can replicate.